This video is made possible by donations to the United States Lighthouse Society from people like you. I'm speaking today with Noel Lynch, who is a tour guide and entertainer at the Hook Lighthouse in Ireland, which is actually the oldest operating lighthouse in the world. We're speaking through the magic of Zoom. Noel is in Ireland. I'm here on the New Hampshire seacoast at my home. Thank you so much for joining me today, Noel.
It's a pleasure, Jeremy. It's great. It's great to be on a Zoom in New Hampshire. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So we're trying something a little different today. Our talk is being recorded on Zoom, audio and video. I'm planning to post the video on the US Lighthouse Society's YouTube channel and on the Society's website itself. And of course, we'll use the audio, just the audio for the podcast. So people watching the video might be wondering where exactly you are as we're speaking here.
I'm in the watchtower. This is would have been the control room since the early 70s for the lighthouse when we got electricity. Now, electricity only arrived here in 1972. Prior to that, various forms of fuel were used for the lighthouse, you know. We have a 270-degree view here, as you can see, and we're looking directly out behind my back at the Celtic Sea. Okay. And over this way is the Irish Sea, and to my left is the Atlantic. Wow! You know, so it's a beautiful view. Yeah. I think more importantly is the Waterford Estuary, which is right here now. This is the gateway into Ireland. This is where everybody came in. Really, you had the say the Celts, the Vikings, the Normans, everybody, and even right now as we speak, we have two vessels going in and out. I don't know if you can make them out over there. And they'd be heading in towards Bellevue. You know, so even 800 years later, we're still a very, very busy channel. You know, it never stops. Yeah, so the lighthouse still serves a navigational purpose in addition to being a historic monument. That's it. Yeah, yeah. You and I had a preliminary talk a couple of weeks ago, and you told me a bit about your background. First of all, you've lived in a lot of places. Where are you from originally? I'm from the west of Ireland originally, a little county called Limerick, but I left there in 1986. I finished school. I was just about 18, and things were slightly different. Say it wasn't much for me there. So I tossed a coin with my dad, and it was either heads Australia, tails America. And America won, and I left on I think it was July 24th, 1986. Okay. And I moved over to the States. Spent almost 22 years there in the end. Living where in the States? In New York. I was in Woodside and Queens for a while, ended up in Sunnyside. I worked in bars all over the city. The last bar I worked in was 2007, Josie Woods down in the middle of New York University, just east of Washington Square Park. Okay. Anyone who went to NYU will know Josie Woods, and before that it was known as Boo Radley's. Oh, wow. it's kind of it was kind of an NYU stronghold of a bar. You know, I think New York terms you might call it a dive bar, but I was well suited to that. You know,
they're some of the best for sure.
Yeah.
Boo Radley's, that sounds like it should be in Georgia or something, not in New York City.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, if memory serves me, is that To Kill a Mockingbird? I think is it.
It is. He's the character in the movie played by Robert Duvall. Character, very important in the book and movie. Yeah. So you also mentioned to me when we talked before that you visited 48 states in the U.S.
Yeah, I was very lucky. Myself and my wife, we liked traveling, you know, and we still do. Obviously, things are slightly different now, but we did any chance we got out of the city. You know, we'd start off. As a matter of fact, our first date, I took her on a train ride to Virginia Beach, and that was our first date. And that was the bug for traveling for us. And for the next 15 or 20 years, any chance we got out of the city, even up as far as New Hampshire. We used to go skiing. We used to go to Vermont, Killington, the West Coast, up and down the West Coast, Highway 101, the prairies, Georgia. Everywhere, 48 of the states, and the only 2 I haven't been at was Hawaii and Alaska. That's a regret of mine. It would have been nice to do all 50 because it's an amazing country there. I mean, it has so much to offer, you know, and obviously there's lighthouses there as well.
There's a few, yeah. In fact, I think there's more in this country than any other country. Yeah, you've got me beat by quite a ways. I was trying to figure it out the other day, and I think I've been at least through parts of I think it's about 32 states. I feel I've done pretty good. So 48 is super impressive.
Thank you.
So how did you come to be a tour guide at Hook Lighthouse?
Yeah, myself and my wife Catherine, we'd stopped here 15 years ago in Ireland. We're just back on holidays or vacation, and we stopped, and I'd done the tour of the Hook Lighthouse. And I immediately fell in love with it. I mean, at that stage, I had been at quite a lot, hundreds, if not thousands of lighthouses I'd visited. And I kind of felt something, you know. And before I knew it, my wife had put a deposit on a house about 5 miles from here. So we got back to the city about 4 days later. And I was after realizing I'm after buying a house in Ireland in a county I'd only ever been in for 3 days. And, you know, things changed slightly after that. My oldest daughter was born in Manhattan. And I saw her and I sold everything and moved here. And eventually a job came up at the lighthouse. Someone told me they were looking for tour guides at the lighthouse. So I said, hey, that might suit me down to the ground. So I applied for the job and I got it. And I think there was a few provisions I had to take care of. At this stage, I was a puppeteer, a juggler, a children's entertainer. I get to dress as a pirate every now and then. Captain Hook, of course, is my name. And so the job entails quite a lot. Obviously, the people that come down are important. I love to give them the knowledge of the area and just how important lighthouses are and always have been for safety at sea. But I'm lucky. I'm finally living my dream job.
Yeah.
It only took me about 40 years to figure it out, but here I am now.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that. I'm in the same boat. I'm not getting any younger, but I feel like I found my dream job, and this podcast is part of it. So, by the way, while I'm thinking of it, I want to thank you. A couple of days ago, I got a nice package in the mail. It was like Christmas, and you sent me a bunch of Hook Lighthouse items. I don't know if people can see. I'm wearing a pin on my hat here, a Hook Lighthouse pin. I'm wearing the Hook Lighthouse bracelet.
Oh, you got the bracelet on as well. Very good.
Yeah, and you sent me a bunch of postcards and a magnet. Whoops, there's a magnet. There you go. And Lighthouse logbook and various things. So you're really whetting my appetite to go there. And if things go right, if my cards fall into place, I'll be there next year, summer of 2022, with the US Lighthouse Society tour. So
I can't wait to meet you up in person.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to it so much, meeting you and seeing that fantastic place, and Ireland in general, having a little bit of Irish blood in me. I'm really looking forward to it. Let's move on and talk about first the Hook Peninsula. Certainly has some interesting history. Maybe you could say a little bit about that. One of the things that's kind of interesting, listeners might be interested in, is that the famous phrase by hooker by crook originated there. I don't know if you want to comment on that too.
Yeah, I mean, when Cromwell was coming over to Waterford and attacking Ireland a couple of 100 years ago, we're known as the Hook, and we've always been known as the Hook going back pretty much 1,500 years. But right across the Waterford estuary, as we look over here, there's a little village called Crook.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was attacking Waterford, he said, "We will get there by hook or by crook." And that's where the saying comes from, and it's stuck. And it kind of means we'll get the job done by whatever means necessary. You know, that's what it translated to. But the village of Crook and the Hook Lighthouse, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. For listeners, American listeners who know nothing about the Hook Peninsula, could you just say maybe a little bit about the geography of where in Ireland it is and its importance?
Yeah, we're down the southeast corner of Ireland. I mean, when the Normans arrived here, and prior to that, the Vikings and so on, they found there was a little river system here. And that river system gives you access to about a quarter of Ireland by boat. And, you know, up to 100 or so years ago, that's the way people traveled. The further in they explored, they could find that the quarter of a beautiful country by boat. Very nice, let's stay here. The only problem was it's treacherous. You know, like right behind me, you have the Irish Sea. Our prevailing winds are southwesterly coming across. Most of the marine vessels are coming from the east. So, you know, they had to protect it. They had to put something here so they could get their ships in. So we had the monks arriving in the 5th century, the monks of St. Duvaun's Church. They were just lighting like small fires, you could say, on raised braziers, you know. They were here then. And then, of course, the Normans arrived around 1169, 1170. And they forever changed our history. It was an invitation to Ireland, really. You know, they were invited in, not an invasion, as people think. The local chieftain here was a lad called Diarmid MacMurrough, and he was having some problems on his own. So he said, "Come on over and help me out here, and you can have your choice of lands." And that's what happened. And they arrived just a couple of miles down here on Bag and Bun. And that's where they said the battle for Ireland was lost and won. You know, when they defeated the locals by driving a herd of cattle into them. Like, you have to imagine these guys, these Normans, when they arrived around 1169, 1170, they were seasoned veterans. You know, these guys had been in the Crusades, you know, so they knew what they were doing. And they were basically up against a bunch of local farmers who had nothing but short pikes and sticks. So they won, and they went in, they founded the town of Waterford, the town of New Ross. It's very, very busy now. I mean, at one stage, about 100 years after the Normans arrived, say 1300s, the New Ross was Ireland's busiest shipping port because it gave you access to a quarter of the country, you know. Yeah. Quite amazing, really. Waterford is across the way from us. It's the oldest city in Ireland, you know, the oldest chartered city in Ireland, going way back when. Cork is only down around the corner. Dublin, at the moment, you can reach Dublin in 2 hours. So, you know, we're really central to the whole of Ireland and getting into Ireland by boat.
Right.
The peninsula itself, it kind of starts out a little bit further in, about 15 kilometers, say about 12 miles wide. That's a good bit in by, and then it comes out here to where I am. And basically you can see the point right here is no more than maybe 100 yards wide. And that's some of the story.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more. It's absolutely fascinating, and you know, I'm sure people listening, watching this would are really enjoying it and enjoying your commentary, and kind of it's a way of vicariously getting a tour with you. Maybe we're cheating a little bit by getting this tour without.
Well, you never know, Jeremy. I do have keys to the lighthouse. I may walk you up the steps that are 800 years old later on, you know.
Wow, that'd be even more amazing. So you mentioned the monks, the fact that the lighthouse was originally built and staffed by monks for quite a while. How long was that the situation there?
Yeah, the monks would have arrived, say, in the 5th century. Little churches inside their St. Dufon's church. They noticed a lot of seafarers were getting shipwrecked coming over, so they lit their fires. The monks were here when the Normans arrived around 1169, say 1170, and the monks helped to build the lighthouse along with the Normans.
Right.
You know, one particular guy, the guy responsible for building the lighthouse is a guy called William Marshall. You know, the Marshal. You've heard of King John.
Yeah.
King John signed Magna Carta along with William Marshall. I think it was 1216 in Runnymede, if I'm not mistaken. And I do believe your constitution is based on Magna Carta.
That's right.
So we have a little connection here with that as well. So William Marshall came in and he was given all of Leinster. And he said, you know what, the monks are here. I'll bring my builders over and the monks can help them. Now, the monks stayed for quite a while. Sadly, William passed away in 1219 at the age of 72. He didn't get to see the lighthouse finished. His sons would have seen it finished. The monks were here for a good while after that. And finally, then, say, local people would have taken over the lighthouse, heading into the 13 and the 1400s. We spoke about Cromwell earlier on. After, say, the plantation of Ireland, the Cromwellian plantation of Ireland, the lighthouse then was given to the Loftus family. It's known as the most haunted house in Ireland at the moment, but that's a story for another time. The Loftuses looked after it. They threatened to extinguish the fire if they weren't paid back rents. That was taken care of. Later on, then the town of New Ross, the ballast office took it over, finally becoming CIL, the Commissioners of Irish Lights, Trinity House. And here we are today, 800 years later, and still a light burning at the top of the Hook Lighthouse. It's quite amazing.
Right. You mentioned haunting type stuff a minute ago, and I interviewed Richard Cummins on the podcast not too long ago.
That's right. I listened to that one actually. Yeah, he's in San Diego, I think.
Yes, exactly. He's been in California for quite a while. Amazing photographer and model builder and stuff, but he was an Irish lighthouse keeper. Well, he is still Irish, but he was a lighthouse keeper in Ireland for, I think it was about 15 years. And he was at the Hook Lighthouse for a while. And I asked him, so did you feel it was haunted when you were there? And he said, didn't exactly think that, but he said the place was incredibly creepy at night. So in later years, after the monks were no longer operating things there were, as you mentioned, local people, pretty much keepers and families living there. Are there any particular stories about their lives, the lives of the later people living there that stand out?
For me, let's go back to before we got electricity, I think. So we got electricity in 1972. Prior to that, there was this lovely family here called the Wickham family. Now, they served here from 1968 to 71 with her husband, who was the lighthouse keeper. His name was Ray, and their children. Eileen writes us letters, actually writes letters. And every now and then you get a really nice one. And she wrote a lovely letter a couple of years ago about life in the lighthouse. I mean, back then they had pigs and they had chickens, and there wasn't too much traffic here. There was barely none. I mean, she didn't have a car, Eileen, and about once every couple of weeks, someone would come by and drive her to the local town to get what she needed. But you have the way she put this story to me was amazing, because she said, you're here with your family, and this is one of the few lighthouses in Ireland where you can actually come with your family. Anything that's offshore, the likes of the Fastnet, the Tusker, even Ballycotton and Cork, you're not allowed to bring your kids with you because there's no schools, there's no nothing. So this is the way they had it, Yeah. So she told me a lovely story about the inspectors were coming. And of course, everything was doubly cleaned, the uniforms pressed, the brass was done, and the children were put away. I don't think you can say that. I don't think you can say that anymore. But she continued on in the letter and she said, yeah, the children were put away, but she says, you're in fear, she said, of the inspectors coming because you want everything to be right. But as you know, lighthouses around the world, there are no pastel colors. It's all reds and greens and blacks and stuff like that. And Eileen wanted to spruce up the houses, which I'll show you later on. And so she kindly asked the inspectors the next time they were coming around, could you send me down some nice colors like pastels and not as dark? And she wasn't sure if Ray would still have a job the next time, but lo and behold, the next time a boat arrived down, the inspectors got off and they gave her lovely colors, and then Ray went about sprucing up the houses, nice pastel-y colors. So that's
Wow.
Eileen and Ray Wickham, and Eileen still lives in Rosslare at the moment, and it must have been a very difficult time for them. You know, not a difficult time. She loves the time, but you know, no electricity, kids walking to school. You know, it was so different, and saving lives at sea. You know, so Eileen is. If you're listening, Eileen, thanks for that letter.
Yeah, she sounds fascinating. So we're talking about when they were there?
That was Eileen and Ray served here from 1968, I do believe, to 1971, just prior to us getting electricity and getting the 1,000 watt light bulbs in.
Okay. So another interesting thing I read about in the history of the Hook Lighthouse is the fog signals there. If I read right, there are like 4 different signals there over the years. Is that right?
Yeah, that's amazing you said it, because right underneath me here right now, Jeremy, is the last foghorn that we used.
Wow.
So this is an electric air compressed foghorn. You'd hear it about I think the actual thing is 3.9 miles away. It was a double blast every 4 seconds. That's when you knew you were in danger at the Hook Lighthouse. Prior to that, we had cannons up on top. So prior to 1972, we had cannons up on top. There was a couple of cannons, and again, they were sending their signal off. Prior to that, there were air compressed foghorns around as well. And then prior to that, there were flares. So that's would have been what we would have used. Now, if you guys can see right out, I'm just going to point down, you'll see a building with a red roof on it. Can you see that there, Jeremy? That's the Gunpowder Magazine for the cannons. And then right next door to it is the detonator store. So again, gunpowder magazines, you know the way they're built inside with layers of sand in case anything happened. And, you know, they would take them to the top, they would pull it, and you had one, say, facing west, you had one facing east, and you had one facing south. And they would go off every couple of minutes, well, when the fog came in, because, I mean, we're lucky today. This visibility is probably right now is probably about, say, 17 to 20 miles. There are days when we can't even see the rocks down here. You know, when, like any other lighthouse, when the fog moves in, it's quite spectacular. So again, the whole thing is protecting sailors at sea. I have one more thing, Jeremy, if you don't mind. I found this. This is an old ship to shore. Wow. You know, so I just brought that up for you today to show you as well. So that would have been on a little boat. You know, or a small ship, and they would signal when they heard us. You know, and
how
obviously,
I was just going to say, how old is that? How does that operate?
There's a wind-up mechanism on the side of it here. Let me just see. Now, the wind-up mechanism is missing its handle, but you would wind that up after, and the lighthouse keepers here will be listening for it. And obviously, the louder it got, the more danger you were in. You know, so you didn't really want to hear it at all. You know,
that's really interesting.
There's a couple of things for you.
It's my understanding there are no more active fog signals in Ireland.
No, all of the fog signals in Ireland were decommissioned. I was actually here myself. I wasn't working here at the time. It was a cold January day in, let me get this right, 2011. Every fog signal went off for the last time in Ireland. I think the commissioners decided that, you know, with modern technology, you have AIS on ships, you have GPS, you have satellite navigation. We're still emitting a Raycon beacon here, which goes out to warn the sailors. I think the locals here, probably true around Ireland, I think they would like to hear the foghorn again, because you can imagine when the fog moves in and your children are out playing in the fields or on the rocks, and when they heard that fog signal go off, it was kind of, I suppose it was the old way of texting your children to say there's danger coming. So I would love if they reintroduced maybe a foghorn day, just maybe once a year. I think it would be nice. Very nostalgic, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's definitely a romance to it. And here on the East Coast of the US, we still have active horns, but they're all automated, and they're actually all mariner activated now. So people on boats and ships, if they're in the fog and they want to hear that horn, they use their VHF radio on their boats, and they can activate the horns that way. And they don't get a lot of use. I'm sorry.
Speaking of VHF radio, have a look at that.
Wow.
There you go. It's an old Marconi.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
That's our one. You know.
Neat. Really neat. Yeah. So here in this country, you hardly hear the horns anymore because I think mariners just. I think the lighthouses still serve a navigational purpose for sure, despite GPS, but the horns maybe not so much. So.
Yeah, exactly. But modern technology has really taken over, hasn't it? You know, I mean, I suppose it's having lighthouses like you have on your East Coast and all over the state and all over the world. I think when people kind of say, you know, I'm kind of, they say, how many shipwrecks are there? I don't like to think of it like that. I like to think of lighthouses about how many lives were saved because we were there and we are here.
Right.
You know, so for me, lighthouses, the glass is half full, you know. Very optimistic about lighthouses.
Yeah. So let's talk about the experience there. Obviously, you've shown us a few things already. I'm sure there's a lot more there. When people visit there, what can they see and do other than climbing the lighthouse? I think is part of it.
Yeah, I mean, access to our grounds are free. You know, it's the four walls around them and stuff like that. We have a fully operational coffee shop inside. With the pandemic at the moment, things are slightly different. Dining has to be outside. That's going to change, I think, in the next couple of weeks, you know. We also converted an old horse box into a coffee dock. We have our barbecue outside with David Chapman and Trish when the weather is nice. We're very proud of our food here. We do have extra things we put on in morning and nighttime. You know, we have sunrise tours and we have sunset tours. And what we try to do is showcase the seafood that's all around us. You know, so our chefs come in very early in the morning. They go up to the bakery, they're baking the breads and they're getting the lobster, the shrimp, the crab, the cod, the salmon. We have a smokehouse just in the road here for us. So we're very proud of that end of it as well. I mean, even down to the seaweed that's floating in here, everything from the sea is really edible, you know, and our chefs and our manager, Lorraine, we like to showcase this a lot, you know. It's amazing how far people inland will travel for fresh fish, whereas all we have to do is throw a pot out behind me here and come back 2 days later, there's something in it, you know?
Right. Well, you're making me really hungry for lunch. It's nearly lunchtime here, and you're making me look forward even more to visiting there next year because I love good fresh seafood.
Good stuff.
Sounds absolutely amazing. So you've shown us some things already, but what other exhibits can people see?
Yeah, I have a maritime exhibit down below where we have a lot of whale activity on this, well, all over Ireland, but particularly on the East Coast here, usually late October until about March. We have a lot of whale bones that we have inside. Of course, there's artifacts that have been dredged up in the estuary from cannonballs and stuff like that, you know. We built the pirate ships for the young kids. You know, I'll take you out to the pirate ship in a while. They come down, and Captain Hook here, myself, sometimes we'll entertain them and we'll have a bit of fun. We do tug of wars. Recently, in the last couple of years, we got rid of the generator because we don't need it anymore. We got LED lighting in. So the old generator room, we took the generator out, and we're very proud of how clean and how tidy it is. We've gotten away from plastics. We have glass bottles, and some people might say, hey, that's worse than plastic, but it's not, because we have a glass crusher which crushes it down. And we use the crushed glass on building projects around the lighthouse. All of our coffee cups are compostable, so everything breaks down. We keep the food separate. Our waste is down to a minimum, you know? So I think we go out, myself, John, Robbie, whoever is here at any given time, we'll walk the headlands and we'll walk the whole headland, and we'll pick up every bit of rubbish we see, you know. So we're very conscious of our surroundings and what is here. I mean, we do have people come down for picnics all the time. We don't mind people bringing their own food in for picnics. We actually encourage it, you know, and they sit on the lawn outside. It's quite a big lawn. Yeah, a lot of stuff like that. So we also have our resident artist, a lady by the name of Rose Fenn. And maybe by the time you come over next year, I'll get Rose to paint you a painting yourself, so you'll be able to take back with you. Rose is here pretty much all the time. Her art workshop is in the back, and all her stuff is about the peninsula and about the Hook. So from no matter where you come in the world, there's something here to do for you, you know. Like all of our guides, our manager, anyone who works here, you just stop them and ask a question, and they're only more than willing to help you. I mean, we spoke earlier on about, say, you know, Wexford and Waterford and the Waterford estuary. Wexford, the southeast, has so much to offer, you know, from the oldest city in Waterford to the Irish Heritage Park, where they take you inside and you go through about 8,000 years of Irish history. You know, we have, hard to believe, we have one of the surfing capitals of Ireland is just over here, a little town called Tramore, where you can get surf lessons. There's kayaking, pretty much when the weather is right, all around the peninsula. Windsurfing. So this, the Hook Lighthouse and the environs around it have a lot to offer. It's good. I like it.
It sounds like a really good family place, you know, for families to come, for all kinds of people, but a lot for kids, it sounds like, too. So when people go there to see the lighthouse, are there guided tours?
Yeah, we at the moment, again, things are slightly different with what's going. We won't mention the words, you know, but you know what it is. But yeah, our tours start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we run a tour every 30 minutes until summertime, up till 6 o'clock. So we could have 15 tours a day, you know, up to 3, 4, 5 guides working at any one time. The history is amazing. I'm going to walk you through it in a couple of minutes. I'm going to just give you a quick walk through the lighthouse. I know time is a concern with podcast, and we don't want people to get too bored, you know, but hopefully they're still with us. But I'll walk you through the different rooms, and we'll eventually go out onto the top of the lighthouse. And the tours, you know, we start off, like we mentioned earlier on, with Duvaughan, and we bring you up to modern times. And then when you get out onto the top of the balcony, it's about 35, 40 minutes before you get there. And then you go, I didn't mind those 115 steps, you know, because that's what our lighthouse has, 115 steps built into the lighthouse.
It's a lot of steps. I have the picture I have behind me today is Portsmouth Harbor Lighthouse, about 15 minutes from my home here, has 44 steps and a 7-rung ladder. And, you know, 44 steps can be a lot for people, but over 100 is a lot. But I did Ponce Inlet Lighthouse in Florida 2 years ago, and I think, if I remember right, 213 steps.
That's correct. Yeah, it's quite up there, isn't it?
Yeah. So I figure if I do that, I can do yours in another.
Well, we'd break it up for you. What we do with the tours is we get them to we go into the coal store first, where the coal was stored for pretty much hundreds of years, and then we would go on to the next level, which is Liberty Hall, and that's where the bedrooms would have been in the lighthouse for going back to the monks, and even up to recent times, that's where the supernumeraries, the assistant lighthouse keepers, would speak. And then finally we go up onto the monastery level, which still has its Gothic arches going back to when the monks were building it here, you know. So 3 different levels, about 30-something steps each time, and then finally you walk out onto the balcony, which is about again, it's probably about 270 degrees around.
Yeah. I always like it when the climb up is broken up that way, things you can look at on the way up. You pretend you're studying things as you're catching your breath before you continue.
That's it. And it helps us as well when you're doing 8 tours a day.
I imagine. So, yeah. So you mentioned there are sunset tours, sunrise tours.
Yeah, I mean, where I am right now, right behind me is where the sun rises. We're due east, and directly across there is west. I have to say, everybody involved in the sunrise and the sunset tours, it's amazing to see the sunset rise, or to see the sunset just go down over the mountains on the far side. It's quite amazing. And right where I am in the watchtower here, we set up the seafood buffet. So it's only a limited amount of people. We'd have local beers, like I said, all local seafood. You get a private tour of the lighthouse as well just before that. And you watch the sunset go down over the Cumberland Mountains, and it's pretty good. I mean, we have other stuff on as well. We hold concerts in the lighthouse. Now that's for only a small amount of people. It's usually local Irish artists and stuff like that. But to hear somebody sing in a lighthouse is quite amazing. You know, the tickets for those, they go pretty quick. And we always notice that staff members don't mind working on that night because they get a concert as well. You know, so the hard thing, I suppose, is bringing up 50 chairs up 77 steps, but you get used to it.
Yeah, that reminds me of my friend Gary Shradzinski, who lives not far from here, who's one of the most incredible accordion artists in the world. And he recorded an album in Portsmouth Harbor Lighthouse. And I helped him carry his 7 accordions and other audio equipment up to the top of the tower. I was glad it was only 44 stairs and not over 100 stairs. But also one time we had a barbershop quartet thing at the base of the lighthouse, and I videoed it with my phone, and the sound was absolutely incredible. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the acoustics inside is amazing. I mean, our lighthouse is, you know, it's 13 meters in diameter. Say, let's go to feet. You're a little over 40 feet. You know, the walls are over about 13 foot thick each. You know, with a staircase built into the outside wall. It's called a mural staircase going up anti-clockwise. It's incredible. So you have those walls, and all the stone from the lighthouse is from down here. It's all local limestone. You know, and each brick, each block had to be carved and put in, and further on down you'll see it. You'll find it hard to get now. We have a lime kiln down here. A little bit further down, lime, you know, you need mortar. So, you know, the limestone is burnt at high temperatures and dipped into cold water, and the lime breaks off, and you'd mix that with horsehair and other clay around, and that's what they've done. I mean, it would have taken them a couple of decades to build this lighthouse. You know, pretty incredible.
Yeah. So you get interesting wildlife there?
Yeah, like I said, the whale watching season is amazing. Everything from humpback whales to fin whales, minke whales, pilot whales. They're chasing after the sprat and the herring, which come in here. The herring and the sprat will come in the estuary there up as far as pretty much Duncannon. And the whales obviously are feeding on those. I was here in January this year, and I was right down there on the headland, and there was 3 fin whales just going right by. I was lucky to be on a boat a couple of years ago when we spotted a couple of humpback whales. You know, bird life, gannets, you know, you name it, seagulls, everything is around this part. I'm actually looking at a gannet right now, looking for some fish. They're a white-tipped bird diving into the water. And again, when sprat and herring season are here, it's just continuous. You know, pods of dolphins, harbor porpoises. I'm quite amazed, actually, there's no seals here at the moment. It's nice and quiet. Sometimes you could have 5, 6, 7, 8 seals just out here, you know. You want to walk out onto the balcony to see what it's really like here?
Of course.
Just this little balcony here.
Yeah,
you know.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll see what we got. I don't know how the sound is. How's that?
It's good.
And how's that?
Oh, wow. There she is.
So if you're starting here, like I said, you're looking down here at the Irish Sea, Celtic Sea, and then you have the Waterford estuary just right out here, leading into Waterford and New Ross, and further on like that. There's that pirate ship I spoke about.
Yeah, I didn't see the pirate ship.
I'll get you out to that in a moment. It's kind of windy here.
Yeah, windy and raining.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we offer 4 seasons in Ireland in about 20 minutes.
Yeah. They say the same thing here in New England. Yeah. Wow.
So what else would you like to know, Jeremy?
Well, you've given us a lot of information, and you've offered to maybe show us around a little bit more. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'm going to walk outside. Is that okay? I hope the sound stays with us now on this because you know, with the wind, is everything coming across okay?
It is so far, yeah.
Excellent. I'm going to walk outside. You get a key ready here. So this is the very modern part of the lighthouse. We spoke about the Gunpowder Magazine earlier on.
Yeah.
There it is right there.
Yeah.
And there's the old detonator store.
Do people get to go inside those buildings when they visit?
Yeah, this one here, we're going to open up the Gunpowder Magazine for people. This one here, the SOS, the Save Our Seas, we call it. And this was the old generator room. Mm-hmm. And people would go inside that. And we have a wonderful exhibit down about how dangerous plastic is, you know, and ways you can prevent it, or, you know, stop using single-use plastic and stuff like that. So we go in and we do educational tours for schools, you know. Speaking about stuff washed up onto the ground, and the glass we spoke about, everything you see there is crushed glass. You know, the tires were found washed up, and we just added onto them. So we try, you know.
Yeah.
Over we go this side. You guys can probably see the lighthouse keeper's cottages here.
Yes.
Beautiful. This is the principal keeper's house. Mm-hmm. And next to it is the assistant keeper's house.
Yeah.
There's our horse box, which sells the coffee. Mm-hmm. And then there's the pirate ship we built for the kids.
Cool.
You know?
I hope we get to, when I visit there with the group from the U.S. Lighthouse Society, I hope you can give us your pirate presentation. I hope you get
Come here,
to
I have a joke for you, Jeremy.
Okay, I'm ready.
Why are pirates always angry?
I give up. Why are pirates always angry?
Because they are. I had to do that. I'm sorry. You know? We spoke about William Marshall. This is cut off of William Marshall right here. Mm-hmm. You know, very, very interesting history on that man, and well worth looking up. You know, I was going to walk out that way, but I think the wind is too much. You know, okay. But I take you guys inside the lighthouse.
That'd be great. By the way,
I'm hoping the signal will stay. Like I said, the walls are very thick. So if we get cut off, you can call me back, can't you? Or I can call you back.
Sure. Okay.
So here's the door.
I have a good feeling about it.
Me too.
It's going to work. Yeah.
So in we go. Yeah. So for you guys in the States, we're now walking into an 800-year-old building. Everywhere we go from here on up goes back to the early 1200s.
We don't have any of those here.
No, you don't. You knocked them all down. There's the monk's chapel. Heading in that way. Then we're in here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Give me 1 second now. I'm nearly at the top. Oh.
I know it's hard to talk and walk up a lot of stairs like that at the same time. Experience.
Nearly there.
Yep.
And 115 steps.
You did that pretty quickly.
Woo.
Yeah.
So here we go. Check this out.
Yeah. So do visitors get to experience what you're experiencing right now?
Normally it takes about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Beautiful.
It's all malting barley for the Waterford distillery. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Here we are. We're up 22 meters, about 66 feet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the light is how far above the water? About?
The light is 36 meters.
Okay.
So a little over 100 feet. You know, a little over 100 feet.
Okay.
It's right behind me.
Yeah.
An old Fresnel lens.
Mm-hmm.
Quite beautiful, quite large.
How large is it?
We changed. It's a triple lens. Mm-hmm. It's a 3-second flash. You're probably talking about 5.5 feet in height. I think there's 144 different pieces of glass in it, you know, so it's quite amazing.
Yeah.
I will get you up there. We changed our lights 2016. We went from a 1,000 watt light bulb to 6 13 watt LEDs. So there's only 78 watts up there now, you know.
Wow.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. And the light is still probably visible a very long way, right?
Oh, you're talking about over 25, 30 miles away, you know.
Wow.
Still available.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. So we're talking on May 27th today. People are going to hear this a bit later. You mentioned earlier that things are starting to or will be returning to normal fairly soon with the pandemic. Is the lighthouse open? It's not open right now as we speak, right? And if
as we speak, no. So this Saturday, we're open until the end of the summer. Every day, 7 days will be open. The gift shop will be open. Basically, everything will be open from this Saturday all the way through. We're hoping forever. We normally only close down about 3 days a year. You know.
Yeah,
that's it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. I'm sure you'll be happy when things get even close to normal.
We'll all be happy. I mean, we all love it here. I mean, at the end of the day, whether you're a lighthouse keeper or a tour guide in some place like this, I think we're just caretakers for a little short time in the big history. And when you're at a lighthouse like this, with its history going back 800 years, I mean, I'm privileged even to be able to work here. For me, it's it's amazing. It's a bonus. It's a bonus for me to have a job. When you think of what went before us, from monks to local people to, you know, a different sort of a life. I mean, this is relatively easy, isn't it? You know.
True. Well, it seems to me the lighthouse is lucky to have you. You're lucky to have it. So it's a nice match.
Thanks, Jeremy.
You've maybe at least partly answered the last question I want to ask you, but I'm going to ask it anyway in case you'd like to add anything else. And this is for bonus points, okay? What has been your favorite thing about working at Hook Lighthouse?
Well, for bonus points, I'd like to say talking to you today, but we won't go down that road. For me, it's the people. To give you an instance, a lot of people walk in here and they go, hey, it's a white tower with 2 black lines on it. You know, what else can they tell us? For any other tour guide, you walk away and you're amazed. You know, so much so that I've had people come down here that probably like myself, when I done my first tour of it 15 years ago, I bought a house. Well, I'm still paying for it, but you know the idea. To see someone enter the grounds here and just think of it as a lighthouse with a couple of black lines on it, that's one thing. To see their faces when they leave, having been educated about lighthouses, about Ireland, about the whole area, I like to think they all went away with a little smile on their face. I mean, any of the guides here, our manager, Lorraine, David, Trish, Chris, Robbie, our maintenance guy, you come down here any day of the week and, you know, you'll be educated and leaving happy. Yeah. And we can't wait. We can't wait to welcome our American guests back, you know?
Yeah.
Some of my own friends will be coming over. I mean, my sister has been trying to get out for the last year with the pandemic, but I think she's coming in July. Say hi, Sandra. She lives in Connecticut in New Canaan. And her son, we're very proud, is in Fort Benning since last Monday. He joined your army.
Wow.
So he's the first of our family to join the U.S. Army.
Huh. Wow. Yeah. Well,
and her other son.
Yeah.
Her other son, I think, is going to West Point next year.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
so we're very proud. We're very proud of all that. You know?
Yes, you should be. Irish people have played such a big role in the history of this country in so many ways. So, and being descended from Irish on my mother's father's side, I'm proud of that heritage too. So, you know, Noel, I'd love to keep talking to you all day if we could. And I think you're a fantastic ambassador for Hook Lighthouse. for County Wexford and for Ireland in general, and I'm sure the rest of your staff and tour guides there are as well. But I see why, you know, I looked on TripAdvisor and I saw the great reviews you've gotten. They a lot of them mentioned our great tour guide, Noel Lynch.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I don't think I can take credit for that. I think it's a group effort, if you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? It's singling out one person is grand, but I think everyone here puts in the effort, you know, and I think that's what makes it such a great place to visit.
I'm sure that's absolutely true. So yeah, I'm singling you out because you're doing such a great job giving us this tour today. But
thank you.
I'm sure the whole staff there, I'm sure, is great. And also, I think our American Lighthouses organizations could learn a lot from what you're doing there conservation wise. I think that's really commendable.
Yeah, listen, Jeremy, any question you have at all about anything about what we're doing here for the conservation for the area, just send us an email, you know, send me an email, send it to Lorraine, send it to Elaine, anybody here, if you need any help with anything about, you know, going forward.
Noel, I'm gonna let you go back downstairs and get somewhere sheltered out of the wind and rain there.
We're inside now.
Yeah.
And this is our gift shop. Let me get a few lights on for you.
Yeah. So we're exiting through the gift shop.
Yeah, we're going into the gift shop.
Yeah.
You know, everything is kind of getting ready for the next few days.
Sure.
There's our kitchen inside here, like that. Everything ready. I'm in the conservatory now. A little dining area we set out for tables and stuff like that, you know. And that's it. Yeah. Did you enjoy that?
I sure did, and I'm sure everybody listening and or watching this has as well. It just looks like a fantastic place. It looks so nice and inviting and spectacular in many ways. So Noel, I'm going to let you go at this point, but I'm hoping we can do it again. And I know we're going to talk when I'm there next year, and I'm really looking forward to that. But I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me today and for taking the extra effort to take us up on the lighthouse. You're the first podcast guest I've had who's actually given us a tour of pretty much the whole site. I've never had
pretty
this.
Good.
It's great.
We aim to please.
Yeah, I can see that you do. And I want to thank you again so much, and we'll talk to you again. So thank you, Noel.
Jeremy, thank you very much. See you at the next rodeo.